this point, Jason, how old are you in your story? Around
30.
You can remember, around 30.
Yep.
Okay.
30.
And what were the drugs that you were using?
At that point, I was using a lot of opiates, pills, just pills, and then cocaine, crack, drinking, and smoking weed.
Okay. And did your drug of choice change around
Yes.
that time?
Yeah.
Okay.
At 30, I tried heroin for the first time and realized it was a cheaper habit than the pills I was buying off the street. It didn't stay that way, but at the time, it was. So I thought it was a good idea just to keep going with heroin. And I did for 5 years straight. As that time period went on, the addiction got more and more. And that what once was cheaper became a lot more expensive.
So let me pull back from that a little bit and just talk about your personal life a little again.
Okay.
So you still had custody of your son at that time.
Yes, yes.
Looking back at that time, like what type of father would you say you were at that time?
At that time, I became someone I was not proud of. On paper, it looked okay. I had a house, I had a car, and I had a job. So I was feeding my son, I was clothing my son, but everything was a chore to spend time, quality time with him. It was a chore. It was something that I had to do. It wasn't something that I always took pleasure in doing because it interfered with my partying and that selfishness. That's a time period I can never get back, and that hurts. I wish today that I'd been there emotionally and had enjoyed the times with him instead of just making another job.
And looking back at that time, it sounded like your parents were still supportive of you and trying
Yes.
to. What was your relationship? How had your relationship changed with your parents during this time?
I really didn't go around that much because I always was trying to maintain the outside appearance. And I thought as though if the outside appearance looked good, everybody would stay off my back. And for the most part, they did. They did. But I stayed away so they wouldn't see me, getting sick when I didn't have it. I stayed away so they didn't see my mood swings. I stayed away so they could never use my emotional state against me and physical state.
Okay. So your drug of choice changed from everything that you were doing to your main drug being heroin.
Yes.
Okay. And how did that change affect your life?
Well, like I said, it took me from. You talking about getting angry then. I was very angry, annoyed. I was annoyed at everything that I had to do. And I had to go to work. I had to, cook meals for my son. I had to keep the house looking halfway decent so when somebody did pop in, it didn't look like a huge mess. I was with another girl then, and I tried to maintain the look on the outside. And we got really close. We were together on and off again for 3 years. But during that period of time, I was also drinking very heavily. I was drinking heavily. I mean, me and her would polish off a fifth of liquor a night. And I was doing heroin. And so you talk about, the emotional and mood swings. Then I'd wake up trying to hide this from her. And I was able to hide the heroin use. She didn't know about that. But eventually I cut ties with her because she was interfering with my party. And I got together with some friends that partied like I did, and they had a son my age. Um, so I'd go over to their house, and they'd go off together and play, and we would stay together and party, party, party. And at that point, when that point came around, the job started getting very, very, very sporadic. Um, because I figured out other ways. That's when the sporadic employment and not being employed that often really was there. And the other means to make a living came in.
Okay. So you said employment pretty much came to like a stop, and you started finding alternative ways to get money.
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
You want to talk about that a little?
Yeah. So I found it too hard to like keep a steady job. Like that was just not working. It was not working for me.
So working was getting in the way of your addiction.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Oh yeah.
All right.
And when the meth started, that's when it really was like, oh no, this whole job thing that's too much.
Okay.
So I found other ways to make money to sustain. And yeah.
So when did the meth start?
35.
35.
Mm-hmm.
Why did you start using meth? If you can remember.
Oh yeah, I made the conscious effort to try to stop. I was going to try to stop heroin and do meth. I was working at that point at 35. I was working as a warehouse manager, so I was like, you can't get off heroin without having something. You know, I can't be sick trying to go to work. Well, what happened is I only kept that job 2 weeks before I did get fired once I started meth. Because at that point, I said, okay, I'm going to do meth and a little bit of heroin with it. And then I'm going to come off the heroin. Well, then it just was a combo. And then my appearance I had no more outward appearance left. Once that entered, there was no hiding anything. Anything. And that only, once meth entered my life, it was 2 weeks and lost that job. From there, barely had a job. I mean, not maybe like 2 months here and there till I went to treatment.
Okay. And when did you go to treatment?
Oh, that I went for another 4 years.
Okay.
With meth, heroin, drinking, Xanax, and smoking weed.
Okay.
But that is really when life just crumbled. Everything crumbled, little by little, not even little, by a lot. I was able to pay the bills because of what I was able to do, and I did get a job during that period of time that didn't last long, but I got fired because I got arrested, and they saw me get arrested for possession of methamphetamine. So got fired from that job, and went on probation. Then it went from bad to worse. That's when I started overdosing. My first overdose was really bad. I went out and I had the house full of people, and they couldn't bring me back for a good long while. I didn't come back till the ambulance was pulling up in the driveway. So it was like 15 minutes. I had somebody breathing for me, but at the very end of it, apparently they had stopped, and all of a sudden I just came back. But that is the worst memory I have, because when I came to, my son was sitting 20 feet away from me, and people around me were saying, he's dead, he's dead, he's dead. So my son thought for those minutes that his father was dead. And all I could do is when I came to, I was so ashamed. The ambulance people were walking up to the porch. I just walked right by him and coldly and callously said, "Oh, I just was my medication." And that's the worst. That's as low as it got in my addiction. To totally disregard him, his feelings, and talk about trauma. You thinking your father, your only parent, is dead, and all I could say is, "Oh, it's just my medicine."
Intense, very
Yeah.
intense. So after that overdose, did you make any? After that overdose, what did you decide to do?
Well, it wasn't really a decision. It was like I said, I was on probation, and I couldn't pass a drug test at this point. There was no way. I had just got a new probation officer, and the first 3 urine tests I got with him, fail. So in that December of 2021, I was either going to be, I had an option, go to detox, or go to prison. So I went at that point. I went for a week at it was Wakebrook at the time. So I went for 1 week, and I got out, and I was like, I am cured. I'm cured.
Okay.
And at that time, I was like, I'm going to be honest with my parents and tell them about this overdose. And I did. And once they found out about the overdose, that was it. That was it for them. Subsequently, I went back to my house when I got out of treatment, and the night I went back to my house, I started heroin, meth, all the drugs. And then I was arrested for the first time.
So was it Wakebrook you said you went to?
I did go to Wakebrook
You went
for 1 week.
for 1 week. And what is Wakebrook? That's a detox
Detox.
center?
It was a detox center.
Okay. Okay. And that was by choice, or to avoid?
No, that was to avoid jail.
To avoid jail.
Yeah.
Okay. And for that week while you were there, was it always your intention to leave and go get high once it was done, or?
No. My
Okay.
intention actually was like I'm cured.
Okay.
I really wanted to come out and stay sober.
Okay.
But as soon as I went back to the house, I was high within like 20 minutes.
Okay. So at what point did you so when you got high again, how long was it from there until you tried treatment again?
It was another 15 months.
15 months?
Yeah.
Okay. And what was it at that 15-month mark that made you decide that you wanted to go into treatment?
Well, from the time that I went back home, I was arrested the first time. Well, not arrested, but I spent time behind bars, starting like a week after I went home, because they had arrested me for theft of a motor vehicle, and that was like January 6, 2022. Yeah, January 6, 2022. So that's the first time I spent any time in jail. I spent 21 days that time. And I got out of jail. Now, at this point, my son was taken. My son, obviously, I wasn't there. So he went and stayed at my parents'.
Okay.
And when I got out, my parents weren't going to let me have my son until I proved to them that I could stay sober. Well, I did not prove I could stay sober. As soon as I got out of jail, I really had intentions to stay sober. I had those intentions. I didn't want to go back to jail. And mind you, now I'm on probation again. For two things now. And I become a felon at this point. I became a felon for felony conversion, altering the vehicle to keep it. So now I'm a felon. 2022, I'm a felon. I get out for 3 weeks, and I went home and stayed clean for like 5 days, and then people showed up, and the party was on. Party was on. I was only able to stay out of jail for like 3 weeks at that point, and I went right back to jail for 6 months, for a 6-month stay at that point. At that point, they arrested me for felony larceny. They arrested me for felony probation violation, felony firearm by felon, felony weapon of mass destruction because it was a sawed-off shotgun. Oh, and felony maintaining a dwelling. So, needless to say, I was really, really upset with that one. And that mugshot, I was crying. Because I was like, ooh, you've done it now. And, yeah, I stayed in jail for 6 months on that one.
Okay.
In county.
Right here in Wake County?
Yes. Okay. Wake County. Okay. And, yeah, that was not pleasant. There was some things that happened in there that were not pleasant at all. Mm-hmm. And so when I got out in August, the very end of August, I said, I'm going to stay sober. And even in jail, I had become the associate pastor. I had delved into, the religion and the Bible because I wanted to stay sober. I did. And I got out of jail and I stayed sober 10 days. Okay. And then I thought, well, I can just try a little bit of meth. No.
So you stayed sober for 10 days, tried a little bit of meth, and
then I
opened the door wide open.
Yeah, to
again.
everything, the heroin, the meth, and at this point I had started shooting. I was shooting up the dope, and that had been going on for like a couple years at that point, about 3 years. So everything went from a progression. Mm-hmm. It went from snorting to heavier drug. Mm-hmm. Snorting. Then another drug that's equal weight. Mm-hmm. And then mixing those. And then I couldn't get high enough, so I shot up.
Okay. So let me ask you another question, Jason. So in your addiction, or throughout your addiction, I know people experience a lot of different things, a lot of different thoughts, feelings, emotions. I heard you talk about anger, mm-hmm. or you turned to an angry individual.
Yes.
Did you have any other thoughts about yourself? Was there any depression, any shame, any guilt associated with that while you were in addiction?
There was a lot of guilt. There was a lot of shame, a lot of despair. I looked at myself like, this is who you are. You're just a piece of crap. You're a sorry father. You're a sorry friend. Mm-hmm. You're sorry at everything. I hated myself. My morals had gone out the window, completely out the window. That's when stealing was every day. That's when, morality had no place in my addiction. And everything that comes along with that. But that guilt, the shame, losing my son, I had to stay high to run from that pain. It wasn't just angry. I wasn't angry then. I hated myself more than anybody. So I delved into more and more drugs to try to relieve that pain.
Would you say that was like a revolving door, like you would want to stay clean or want to stay sober?
Yeah.
And when those thoughts would occur, you wouldn't want to deal with them. And
that's exactly what it was. Mm-hmm. When I finally would go to sleep, I'd be like, I don't want to wake up and do this again. I don't just, and I had never been suicidal. And what changed is I don't care if I wake up. I did not care. Like, I didn't care if I died. You know, death seemed like a nice little exit. And I overdosed a couple more times, but I'd never, it didn't matter. It didn't matter. Thankfully, I always, in my story, I'm always thankful for the last arrest.
Okay.
Because I went and tried to steal something and got arrested.
So, Jason, you've been in recovery, you said, for 3 years now?
Almost. Yep.
For 3 years now. What were some of the factors that contributed to you deciding that you needed to change your life?
Well, the last arrest really gave me a chance to sit down and think and have God speak to me. I see the first two arrests. I blamed somebody. I blamed the people that I was around for the first one with the vehicle. The second time where I went for 6 months, that was my parents' fault because they called the probation officer on me and had everything surrounded. Now the third time, I went to jail because I chose to go try to steal a heater from my car. And after about 10 days sitting in there, I heard a voice say, "Who you got left to blame?" And I tried to sit on that because I was trying to find somebody. But like another day after that, I said, nobody. I got nobody left to blame. And then I heard a voice say, if you get sober, you'll get your son back. And I finally sat there and I told God, I don't know how to stay sober. It was abundantly clear to me at that point, my way didn't work. My way was never really working because I had lost everything that meant anything. So then it was like a billboard popped in my head right there in jail. It said, rehab. Rehab popped through my brain. Just right there, rehab. And I didn't want to do rehab. No, I did not want to do rehab. But guess what happened? 2 days after I had that vision of rehab, somebody from Healing Transitions happened to show up in the jail and came to me and said, are you ready? Are you finally ready to try something? God told me that. And I looked at him. I said, yep.
What is Healing Transitions?
Well, they call it a homeless shelter with a recovery-based approach. It is a long-term facility that where you sit down and you get recovery management, and you have to go to classes. You have to go. You get a job. You have to get up on early to go do this job on campus. When you're not doing the job on campus, you're doing recovery classes. When you're not doing your recovery classes, you got to make a certain number of meetings at night. If you don't do these things, you get sent back in the program. You start over.
Okay. And I heard you say it's a long-term program.
Yeah.
How long is it?
It was when I was there. It oscillates the time period, but it was like 9 months to 15 months, give or take, at that point. And it has to do with how you do in the program, and if you get sent back in the program. The extenuation in time is if you get sent back.
Okay.
Luckily, I did not get sent back.
Okay.
So I was able to complete it in 9 months.
Okay. So in 9 months you completed Healing Transition.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what were some of the things that you learned about Jason while in treatment?
I learned why I run for myself. I was given time to get the drugs out of my system. To force me to look at me. And what I had done all my life is hide my tears behind the laughter of a clown. And because I was good at that. I was good at coming up the jokes. And but people saw right through that in that program. And they called me out on that. And one thing I had come to do, I thought it was a positive trait when I entered those doors, to say what was on your mind right when it's on your mind. Right? Because that's being honest and real. No, that's being hateful and angry and operating at a frequency that's not where you're supposed to be. But drugs and alcohol put it to where that's all I knew. So I had to learn how to pause, process, and proceed. That was the biggest thing I learned at that place. Is to give this was a concern I got. This was part of my help. Was I couldn't speak for 3 seconds. And whenever somebody tried to confront me or anything, and I had to pause for 3 seconds, then process it, and then I could proceed. And so that's something I practice today, like heavily, big on that, because it gives me time to process what you're saying to me and be able to communicate instead of react. One huge thing I learned there is that the only thing you can control in this world is your reaction. It allowed me that time to realize you can just control your reaction. But it also gave me time to sit still without the weight of the world on your shoulders, because they fed you, they clothed you, you had that roof over your head. And I gained camaraderie. People got to know the real Jason because I broke down these walls. I finally, after like 2 months there, broke down the walls and let people in. And that was really, really powerful. In a group of 60 men sitting in a circle, I broke down because somebody asked me what I was afraid of. And when they asked me that, I just let it go. I mean, snotty crying, everything. And I told them what I was afraid of being seen, afraid of the past, afraid of what I've been through. And man, once I did that, I started owning me. And started little by little loving who I was. Because I never loved me. I hated me. I hated me. That was the underlying issue. I hated who I was all throughout my life. Without knowing that, I hated Jason. When I looked in the mirror, I hated who I was and who I had become. I didn't even recognize that person. Now I can look in the mirror, and be like, you're a pretty good guy.
Good. So you finished treatment after 9 months. You learned all these things that you just spoke about while in treatment.
Mm-hmm.
And this was 3 years ago.
Yes.
Or a little over 3 years ago.
About 3 years ago I started it, yeah.
Okay. So what's going on in your life today, Jason, since entering treatment and finishing treatment?
Man, my life has gone, I've got more today than I ever thought I would have. I got a beautiful house I'm renting right now. Love it. 3-bedroom, 2-bath house, nice backyard. I've got a job I love going to today. I love it. I work in recovery, and I get to teach classes today. I'm going for my CAD-C. I'm a CAD-C certified alcohol drug counselor, intern. But I get to do IOP classes now, PHP classes, recovery management groups. I get to lend a hand to somebody who's struggling, and that's my passion. That's what I was taught to do through the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous. Those are the principles I live by. And, the more I give today, the more I try to just help somebody, give a positive word, lend a hand to somebody. It sounds like a chore, but it's not. I have the honor and privilege of doing that. And through that, I get more time. Somehow, some way, God provides me time to get everything done, Since I stopped fighting everything, everyone. Man, the road is just on. And I'm not even a hard task, not even like really trying, just showing up and doing the next right thing. And the number one thing, I got my son back. My son is here right now in this house as we are doing this interview. And man,
what's going on with your son?
Ty, he is 17 years old, back at home with his father, proud of his father today. And he is actually just got accepted into college. So he's going to be going to Universal Technical Institute for a NASCAR engineer, NASCAR technician. He's been working over a year at a job that he likes. He's in school. He's finishing his senior year. He got like a 3.5 GPA. Well-rounded, happy kid. And man, like, be able to walk into this house with my son, with the peace in my heart, and the happiness and smile on my face, and to get to see that smile on his face is the world. That's the world. That's it, man. That's it. And what has changed is I don't take anything for granted today. You know, I had a house that turned into something that shouldn't have been, and I never appreciated it. I have my son for the first 13 years of his life. Never appreciated it. Today, all the blessings that have been bestowed on me, man, I thank God every day for it. Thank God every day. And another thing that's changed is I ask for His will to be done every day I wake up. Every day. That's it. Get out of my own way. Because when Jason re-enters that picture and tries to steer that wheel, that's when everything goes sideways. I have learned that. And I've learned getting out of my own way and letting His will be done. Even if I don't understand it at that time. He's saving something better for me. When I got a no, I got 14 no's before I got this place. God provided me this home because it just so happened to be another addict, alcoholic, who owned this house, who had heard about Healing Transition, who met me and asked me if I wanted this place. 15th try, I got a yes.
Okay. So Jason, if you were, just say you were just speaking with somebody and they're in addiction, and you work in recovery.
Mm-hmm.
You got a client or resident, whoever, who's just like on the fence and not too sure about whether they should try recovery or not. You know, is there anything you could try to tell them to like push them towards?
Yeah. What do you have to lose? You are in treatment. You got yourself here. What's to lose? If you just give something an honest faith effort, you can always go back to the drug. They're not going anywhere. But try something new, and you just might like it. That's what somebody told me, and I said, yeah, you're right. I can always go back.
Cool. Okay, Jason, thanks for the interview.
Yeah.
Hopefully
thank you.
We may be able to get together and do another one of these sometime
I
down
love
the
that.
road.
Thank you.
All right.